Okay, rarely does a trade or a piece of news or anything ever have the effect on me that this trade has had. I literally was in the middle of rendering that Tarasenko video and I paused, I stopped, and I was still for like 10 seconds. We have ourselves probably the biggest Colorado Avalanche trade we could have seen this trade deadline period. It's Sean Walker over for Ryan Johansen. No, okay, we can talk about this trade a little bit because that's a pretty big one too. But, my goodness, Bowen Byram for Casey Mittelstadt. The trade is 1-for-1. Wow. Okay, so I have a few thoughts about this. Mostly because when it comes to both of these guys, they've been good young talents, and if you want to talk about the status profile of both of them, I mean, let's go to Casey Mittelstadt first, because he'll be going over to the Avalanche. He's got himself 47 points in 62 games played this year, on pace for about 61, which would be a career high, besting out his 59-point season from last year. Casey Mittelstadt has gotten a lot better over the past few years, especially when you consider the potential that he had heading into the NHL in the first place. Mittelstadt is 6'1", 196, so he's really filled out. Pretty nice to see there. Left-handed guy, 25 years old, drafted in the 8th overall spot in 2017 by the Buffalo Sabres. And Casey Mittelstadt, back when he was with the Minnesota Golden Gophers in 2017-18, this was the year, right here, where he was over a point per game for Team USA at the World Juniors, and he was seen by many as the top prospect in the NHL. The #1 guy. You had all the prospect rankings, all the lists, who are the top 10 NHL-affiliated prospects. You had the Hockey News magazine with like the top 200 prospects, and Mittelstadt was #1 everywhere. Why do I know this? Because my Elias Pettersson was #2 everywhere. And it was a big debate back in that time frame. Mittelstadt versus Pettersson, Mittelstadt versus Pettersson. Pettersson became a 100-point guy. Mittelstadt was slowly working himself up from the AHL eventually. He was never really too good until last year, you could say. He had 19 points in 40 games played in 21-22, on pace for about, let's say, 38 points in a full season. So, even as far back as 21-22, Mittelstadt still wasn't really living up to that hype, but now he's finally gotten himself on track. He's gotten that playmaking edge. He meshed well with the Buffalo Sabres and what it is they're trying to build, but they gave up on him. They're sending him over to the Colorado Avalanche for Bowen Byram, and look, I get it. You can say that Byram may not have been, immediately as good as we thought he could have been. Byram had himself a lot of hype, too. Top defenseman in the 2019 draft, taken 4th overall by Colorado. He was slowed down a lot at the start of his career because of injuries. You can see it: 19 games played, 30 games played, 42 games played last year. He has had such bad luck in regards to his overall health that you can say that's the biggest reason as to why Bowen Byram has not really lived up to his 4th overall status just yet. You could also say it's due to a lack of opportunity. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Colorado Avalanche are a pretty good team. And with guys like Cale Makar, Samuel Girard, and Devon Toews all on this roster taking up spots, you could debate that Bowen Byram's development time as a potential top 4, maybe even top 2 defenseman has really been slowed down over the years. I mean, even just in regards to points, he is only barely ahead of Josh Manson, Samuel Girard, and Jack Johnson even. Sam Malinski has tossed himself into this conversation too. So if you want to say that there was a lack of opportunity here for the Bowen Byram development path to really take place, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. Add on to this the development with his health, and you have yourselves a package that really bodes disappointment. If you're looking at Cale Makar and saying, hey, that guy was a 4th overall pick, why can't Bowen Byram do that too? He's also 4th overall. Firstly, you're not really considering the fact that they don't play the same style, but secondly, you will be disappointed because not everybody can be as gosh darn good as Cale Makar is. So Bowen Byram, going from a defensive situation in Colorado where he's arguably behind some of the top talented players in the entire world, over to Buffalo where he'll be sharing the load with Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power. Oh boy, this Buffalo Sabres team, man. Man, I am sorry, but I think the Sabres may have won the deal. And that's not even to slight Casey Mittelstadt. Hey, guess what? As we had just talked about, the Colorado Avalanche, they need a center. They just needed to do this. So essentially, if you take a look at the other tweets that we had looked at here, so other than the Bowen Byram, Casey Mittelstadt trade, you had the Sean Walker, Ryan Johansen trade. They sent over, the Colorado Avalanche did, they sent over Ryan Johansen and a conditional 2025 first for Sean Walker and a 2026 fifth. And the condition is that the 25 first is top 10 protected, in which case it would slide to 2026. So just in case the Avalanche suck next year, which they won't, but just in case they do, then you have yourselves that trade protection, which will allow the pick to transfer to 2026. And, as we had just seen, the Flyers immediately put Ryan Johansen on waivers after taking him as part of the Walker trade with Colorado. He's got one more year on his deal at $4 million apiece. And if you've been seeing a bunch of the conversations from Colorado Avalanche fans, they really do not like this guy, man. Ryan Johansen, 23 points in 63 games played. He's expensive, $4 million a year to the end of next season. He also happens to be a local guy from Vancouver. Bowen Byram was from Cranbrook, so yeah, Colorado is just trading away all their Northwest BC people, and I take offense to that, just saying. Just kidding, I don't really, but Ryan Johansen has not been good this season. A lot of people have been really clamoring on him as trade bait over the past few days, and as even potential buyout bait, really, if you want to go worst case scenario there. But it's a tidy piece of business, honestly, by the Colorado Avalanche. Trade away Johansen, get Walker, and then, because you have Walker, trade away Byram for Mittelstadt. Really, you combine these two trades, and it's Byram and Ryan Johansen out for Sean Walker and Casey Mittelstadt. Mittelstadt is an upgrade on Johansen, and Walker, I mean, I guess you could say, is he an upgrade on Bowen Byram? I'm not really too sure. Let's go over to his profile here. Sean Walker has been pretty alright this season, 22 points in 63 games played. He's a very good player, and he blocks a lot of shots. He's a right-handed guy, 5'11", 196. He needs an extension, but hey, he's pretty much more valuable than Bowen Byram, I guess, considering the fact that he is right-handed and the fact that the Colorado Avalanche wanted this guy on their team. If you have a player like Sean Walker on your bottom pair, that's a really, really good role. And for Byram himself, because Walker is 29 years old and Byram is 22, you could say that Sean Walker is a lot more fit for that bottom pairing role to play behind Manson, Taves, Makar, and Girard. And it makes sense, really. Like, you're not hampering anybody's development by putting Sean Walker on your third pair, because Sean Walker is already what Sean Walker is. Meanwhile, for Bowen Byram, he's going over to a Sabres team that's all young. They want to see who's going to be able to step up. Byram is literally, like, second, if you want to talk about tiers of guys that are drafted. Dahlin, Byram, and then Power. Like, they're right there, neck and neck and neck. And I guess you could say that Power maybe have overtaken Byram if you wanted to say that, but either way, tidy piece of business here by Colorado. This is a team that is getting better by the minute, and they are going to be a huge cup contender because of this move. They already were, but now they got even better. Mittelstadt for Johansen, Walker for Byram. It makes sense on multiple fronts, and the Philadelphia Flyers and Buffalo Sabres have a lot of things to say that they're happy about in regards to these trades. So for Sean Walker, they got themselves a conditional first. They needed that. They wanted that. And I guess for Ryan Johansen, they're just eating the salary because they placed him on waivers right after. They don't really care about having Ryan Johansen on their roster. They just did it to make the money work, I guess. But my goodness, this trade totally blew my mind. Bowen Byram just got traded for Casey Mittelstadt. That's a blockbuster, and it plays hand in hand with the Ryan Johansen-Sean Walker trade. Defense and a center going out, defense and a center going in Colorado. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this tidy piece of work here by the Avalanche. What are your thoughts on Casey Mittelstadt going over to Colorado? What are your thoughts on Sean Walker going over to Colorado? And what are your thoughts, if you're a Flyers fan, on Ryan Johansen leaving the Colorado Avalanche and leaving your team too? You placed him on waivers. And Bowen Byram, Sabres fans, what are your thoughts on getting him? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.